Is there such a thing as morality when you are a spy?
No, there's justification that for doing immoral things. The KGB did one thing very well, and that is pick the right people. I would be willing to do something more dangerous than my life had been in the U.S. And what do you think I'm saying to that?
If you've seen the very famous American TV hit series, The Americans, well, actually we have somebody who is real from The Americans, Mr. Jack Barsky, formerly known as Albert Dietrich.
Well said, almost. It's very difficult to pronounce.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my daughter Chelsea, when eventually she didn't like the Barsky name because it was stolen, right? She changed her last name to Dietrich. She can't pronounce it. She said Dietrich.
Mr. Barsky, welcome to the Social Venture. Thank you so much for accepting our invite.
Delighted to be here.
You are somebody who I've been following for years, and I never thought...
Oh, now you're scaring me.
Yeah. No, I followed your journey. I followed your interviews, your podcast, and you're truly fascinating with, your life, your redemption. I mean, you're the real thing sitting next to me right now, and I never thought the day would come for me to possibly interview you.
And now you're raising the bar like this high.
Yes, yes, sir.
I will try very hard to live up to your expectations.
You not only known, for being a spy for the KGB, but you're also very well known for the book you wrote, Deep Undercover.
Yeah.
Which hopefully in the very near future will become a miniseries or some sort of a production.
Yes, it could even be a movie, but most likely it's going to be a miniseries that can be extended because you read the book.
I have examined the book. I haven't fully read the book.
But you are aware that my story has so many wrinkles, so many zigzags. It's so much depth to this. It isn't just the espionage. It's like how I wandered around in the world and almost got lost in this and that and the other. So many quote unquote what's the word? Sometimes with my age I have something called delayed retrieval, happenstance, coincidences, like things that happen. Is how did that come all about? As a Christian, I think it's God, playing His game with me here and there. But it's just like I can literally, and I don't want to volunteer this, but I can literally now talk for about 5, 6, 7, 8 hours without boring you.
Do you believe in coincidences?
No, anymore.
Good.
Not anymore.
Neither do I. Let's go back to Germany.
Yeah.
You were a chemistry student.
Yeah.
In Jena.
Right.
University.
Mm-hmm.
And you were tapped by, at the time, the Stasi, which you didn't know was the Stasi.
No, this is somehow, this came out, I think, after the 60 Minutes interview when I told them that I thought it was Stasi.
I see.
And it was reinterpreted by somebody who edited the 60 Minutes tape. I thought it was Stasi because it was a German.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody who came to me and wanted to talk with me about government service and really like a weird cover story that he had. And since he was German, I thought the only, I wasn't stupid. I said, government, what are you talking about? I didn't ask him.
Yeah.
I knew this had to have to do with espionage. And so what happened after... it's a very interesting scene. So when first, he came in, I was in my dorm room, and it was on a Saturday. He knocked on the door. There were no labels on the door. How did he know which door to knock on? I figured out many years later that I had a neighbor in the next room who was a Soviet exchange student. He was most likely KGB.
I see.
Anyway, he knocked on the door, and eventually I waited because normally when people in the dorm they They knocked, they would just come in. They said, I'm coming in. Nobody came in and said, come in. And so he came in and initially introduced himself as a representative of the local optics firm, Carl Zeiss Jena. You're probably familiar with that. It's a very well-known, internationally well-known company. And then he asked me, he wanted to just find out what my plans were after graduation, and that was the dumbest cover story that I ever heard of in my entire life. He didn't know how our country worked, because when you graduated from college, you were assigned.
Mm.
Companies didn't recruit.
Yeah.
Nobody recruited. So I knew something was up, and I just played along, curious. What the heck does this little guy want? By the way, he was not likable at all. I don't know why the KGB hired this guy.
You know what questions comes to my head? Why a chemistry student?
Why?
Yeah.
By default.
Why? Because they were going through the Cold War era with...
No. I tell you what. I was a smart, very, very smart high school student. I had A's in every subject. And I wasn't really good at any of them, like really a superstar. And I always liked chemistry a little bit. And then the teachers and the principal wanted to push me into something like where I would become a teacher, because they were looking for smart people to become school teachers.
You wanted to be a professor, right?
Yeah, not teacher. I'm not going to do teaching.
Yeah.
So eventually, to get him off my back, I said, no, I'm going to do chemistry. Didn't have a passion for chemistry, but it was the least of all evils. It had a little physics. It has a little.
So it's like between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
There's nobody to pick. Let's put it this way. Politically, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Personality-wise, I couldn't work under either one of them.
Got it.
That's just me, okay? It doesn't mean...
But I want to understand, how did the track lead them to you?
Yeah. So, again, the one thing I have to... This is a foundational statement. They shared practically nothing with me whatsoever unless it was something that I needed to know to make decent decisions. And even then, they kept things back, because I found this out in hindsight by reading books from people who used to be in the KGB. The KGB didn't trust anybody, and they would have trusted somebody like me even less, because they sent me out into the world all by myself. So, what was the question you asked me?
I wanted to know
how they got to me.
Exactly. What is the process? How does the KGB go and says, you know what, I want Albert to be part of our organization?
That's an educated guess. My best friend in college, he had already volunteered and worked with the Stasi, and he claims that he was responsible for it, and I doubt this very much, because as much as KGB and Stasi sort of cooperated, they didn't trust each other either.
Got it.
So I guarantee you that my guess is accurate. They were rummaging through the records that the Stasi kept on practically each adult in the country, and my record looked like, whoa. I had received at one point in my junior year a scholarship, a national scholarship, and I looked it up to make sure that I'm not telling you something that's not true. It is true, and it's called the Karl Marx Scholarship. It was restricted to 100 concurrent.
This is all of East Germany you're talking about.
All of East Germany, a couple of 100,000 students.
Yeah.
And I got that scholarship because I had all A's.
Wow.
I was a member of the Communist Party, and in the justification for the scholarship, which, by the way, I edited to make sure it had the right words.
Yeah.
It also was. They pointed out. It was pointed out that I was, the life of the party. I played the guitar, and when we would go on a hike with a group, and we'd sing. And I played college basketball. Whoa, well-rounded. You got to talk to the guy.
Do you think possibly your professor had something to do with it?
No.
Or one of your professors?
No.
Like, and say, Albert, he's very intelligent. He's getting fantastic grades.
The records showed that I was. I had
He has common sense, which is critical.
The professors didn't know me that well.
Got it.
One assistant professor knew me quite well. It's the guy who recruited me to become a party member. But I doubt that any of the professors had relationships with the KGB.
The only reason I'm asking that question is because it's commonly known that here in the U.S., the CIA does that a lot. Professors who work, on contract basis with the CIA, who have relationships, they would go up to them and say, hey, if you see somebody interesting, if you think somebody is, very bright or has these characteristics, make sure you let us know. And then they would go and tap into them.
I can't exclude that, but I still think because it's a situation where there's two different countries involved, not as likely. The Stasi always would have had first dibs, right? But they found me, and there was no Stasi involved. Anyway, just to finish up, when this fellow eventually changed the one who came to talk to me changed his tune. He asked me whether he said, I'm not really from that company. I'm from the government. Could you imagine?
How long ago how long did it take for him to say that? Was that
about a half hour?
Really?
A lot of small talk. I was there sitting in front of my notes. It was Saturday. I was studying, and we were talking about, how hard chemistry is a very difficult subject.
Yeah.
It's a lot of memorization, but also quite a bit of math and logic, and lab work. So lots of hours.
Experiment.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and sometimes potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit, and then he just suddenly changed his tune and says, I'm really from the government, and could you imagine to one day work for the government? The jokester in me was contemplating to ask him what branch of the government, but I didn't want to touch it, so I said, yes, but not as a chemist. So he had the answer to a question he didn't have to ask.
Got it.
Was we were talking between the lines, he knew, okay, he's open to another talk. Several days later, he invited me for dinner, and there was another person at the table, and he was introduced as Herman. And he says, well, this is Herman. We are working with our Soviet comrades. Well, Herman wasn't obviously his real name. There's no Russian who was.
Yeah.
It could have been German, right? But,
yeah.
But it was a cover name anyway.
Yeah.
And then this short guy with a stupid cover story just disappeared. And he never gave me any name, whether it was a cover name or his real name, doesn't matter. And Herman and I started talking, and it was like very natural. At that point, they didn't know that they wanted me, and I clearly didn't know that I wanted to join them. It was an 18-month evaluation, getting to know one another, getting an understanding at their end that I qualify, because what they knew was in my profile, but they didn't know that I was born fearless. They didn't know that my brain was working really fast.
Yeah.
They didn't know that I had the ability to come up with stories that are not true on the spot, to get myself out of tight situations. All of this, they had to figure this out. And how do I know this? There's a couple of ex-heads of Directorate S in the KGB, Directorate S, the illegals, that gave interviews, how they combed the young population for candidates, what they were looking for candidates to do this kind of a job. And there was about a dozen of those character traits that they were looking for. And you couldn't figure this out until you put the person to a test. And so there was 18 months that Herman spent watching me, giving me little tasks, talking with me. I shared practically everything with him because I had lost my father. Lost, it means he wandered away from the family. And Herman was like about 10 years older than me. So when he asked me questions about, I considered him an older advisor. So he got to know me really well. And I was supposed to figure out whether I want to join them. I had not figured that out until the offer was made.
Before they tapped into you, did you ever think about the KGB? Did you ever think about espionage?
Not even one letter of one word. KGB, espionage, no way.
Got it.
Never.
So it did not interest you at all?
No. We had some information about KGB and also German communists doing espionage against the Nazis. They were heroes, but it never occurred to me that I wanted to do something like that or could do something like that.
So what sparked the interest? Curiosity?
Yeah.
You just simply want to see what it is?
Yeah, I wanted, talk to me.
Let's explore.
And I'm still curious. I was born curious and I will die curious. Okay? It is what it is. That's just one of the traits that is quite important for somebody in espionage, right?
Yeah.
But I was naturally curious.
Got it.
So I was playing along up until a point when they actually asked a question for which I was not prepared. And that was, you want to hear about it?
Yes, of course.
So Herman studied me, and I guarantee you we met sort of twice a month for about an hour and a half in a flat where there was nobody else when we were there. And he gave me some Western literature to read that made me feel special because it was obviously forbidden. You couldn't get a copy of Der Spiegel, and if you got somebody from a Western relative, you had it, you would get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So, we talked about what it was like to be. We talked about openly what it was like to be an illegal in West Germany, and he gave me some tasks to do and all that. And then I guess, in hindsight, again, every time we finished the session, he would sit down and write notes, and he probably had a pile of documents that he eventually sent to Berlin, the headquarters of the Soviet Army and the KGB. And at one point, he told me, we need to give you a little more training, and you can get this only in Berlin, 2 weeks. So he sent me to Berlin. Okay, why not? It turns out I met somebody who gave me a few little tasks, but there wasn't much training, okay? It was a pretext to send me to Berlin, okay? Because this is what happened. On my next to last day in Berlin, the fellow who was my liaison there took me to the headquarters in Berlin, Karlshorst. The building still exists. And we wandered into an office that was really, really richly decorated. It had a bust of Dzerzhinsky on a desk, and the desk was about as big as this one. But the man behind it was, his head was just about this high. He was a short guy.
Did you know who Dzerzhinsky was before then?
He what I didn't know at the time, that he was executing Lenin's command for the Red Terror, which resulted in a lot of people being killed just because they were enemies of the revolution, or they had something that the Dzerzhinsky's folks wanted. Like no rule of law.
Yeah.
Just shot on sight. Knock on the door, like just happened here.
Yeah.
Open door, boom, goodbye. No idea. That all became known to me after I quit the KGB. So I'm sitting there, and we did a little small talk again, and all of a sudden, this man, by the way, the moment he opened his mouth, his voice was twice as big as his body. He spoke like with a steely voice, and immediately the psychological energy that like hit you. And so after about 10, 15 minutes of small talk, very similar to what the other guy did, but this guy was a whole lot more professional about it. He just switched his tune altogether, and he said, "So what, are you in or not?" I said, "Huh? Well, are you going to join us?" And I wasn't prepared for that question. See, this was done on purpose, I guarantee you. Because ultimately, with, again, a lot of hindsight, they didn't treat me like a vulnerable individual. They treated me with harshness and with aggression.
Do you think that's a tactic?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to get to that. They put me into situations where lots of others would have failed, and that failure would have meant the end of my career, both with the KGB but also at the university. So hindsight. But anyway, so now I tried to play for time. I said, well, I don't know if I qualify, which nobody ever told me, so that was okay to say. And I don't have a lot of training. And he just looked at me and says, "Don't worry, you qualify, and we will train you. But..."
Is this in German?
It's in Berlin.
Okay.
"But," he said, "we only work with people who can make important decisions quickly. So I give you until noon tomorrow to give me the answer." Now I had this choice. The one was the adventure and serving the revolution, because I was a hardcore communist, and living the good life in the West, being able to travel, the romantic, the romantic part of espionage, which is never really romantic, but I didn't know that. And the other thing was a guaranteed career as a tenured professor. I was on my way.
So you were in the matrix, red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah. And logic really didn't work, because and the one thing that I would have lost, and when I did lose when I said yes to the KGB, is basketball. And if I had the passion for anything or anybody, it was basketball. My team was my family. So it was 50-50 until, sleepless night, until the next morning. My subconscious just made the decision. And I know where that came from. Ego, because how do you say no to the mightiest intelligence organization in the world? Yeah. I felt flattered, and adventurism. Never mind the other stuff. There had to be a foundation of ideology, or else you wouldn't.
So ideology wasn't the primary reason?
No.
Got it.
Nope.
Yeah.
But it was the foundation. So I could justify all this other stuff. I could justify to tell a lie to my mother. I could justify a lot of other things, lying to a lot of people.
Your ideology, did it come from family? Did it come from school?
School, primarily school in the younger years, starting with kindergarten. If the Communist Party of East Germany was good at one thing, it was systematic brainwashing, age appropriate. So it was step by step by step, and brainwashing was everywhere. It wasn't just done in one particular class in school. No. Communism was infused into everything we did.
All walks of life.
All walks of life. Oh, sports, literature, the arts, and my mother actually was a contrarian. She spent some years singing in a church choir. And then when she got married to my father, who was a party member and had a career ambitions, she had to quit. She privately complained about the East German state a lot, and I argued with her until the cows come home. And I was a little smarter. I won every argument, but she was right, actually.
Yeah.
So, and my dad didn't, he was officially a communist, but he wasn't a loudmouth, so there was nothing there.
Were you the firstborn in your family?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a younger brother, 3 years younger than me.
The reason why I'm asking is because you were born in 49.
Yeah.
And communism, that came to East Germany was about that time.
It was exactly that time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and I was wondering how your dad got intertwined with communism because, he's not Russian and, communism.
No, but 49 already, the Communist Party in East Germany, there were a lot of people who had fled during the Nazi rule to Moscow. They came back, and there was a very systematic plan to take over.
Got it.
Okay, so and my father actually joined the Socialist Party. Well, I think it was just about in 49 when they united with the communists, and this was not unity; it was a takeover.
Yeah,
communists took over, and at that point, the GDR became a communist country.
Yeah, I think it was during the Yalta conference where Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt met to decide, which part of Germany is going to go to who, and it was at the time where they decided that East Germany is going to be part of the Soviet Union.
And then they also divided Berlin, which was not a very wise decision because Berlin was a focal point in the Cold War, and there were a couple of times when Berlin could have, actually the situation in Berlin could have triggered a World War III. So, well.
So after you had that yes or no answer, what happened after that? Noon. You had to answer by noon.
Yeah. I
Obviously,
told
you
my
said
handler,
yes.
I said yes, And so within 2 weeks, I was told, quit your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I told, when people wanted to know, what's the matter with you? I was already an assistant professor, okay? And I had a career path that was in addition to, or other than being a tenured professor, I could have wound up in government for sure because I was recruited to become the deputy secretary of the youth organization for the entire university.
Oh.
University.
Wow.
Well, that would have led to becoming
something
the
else.
First secretary, and then you go on to government. Thank God that didn't happen.
Really?
There's a lot of thank Gods in my life.
Okay, all right.
All right, that's because I would have, like a couple of classmates of mine who did join the government, they found out the lying that was going on inside. For instance, the reporting on, how the industry was doing, how agriculture was doing, 2 sets of books, lots and lots of lying, and so what do you do if you? I was wired to be quite a very honest person, and then you're conflicted. If you tell the truth, you're out of a job. You got a wife and children. So no, I'm very glad that that didn't work and that the KGB rescued me.
So espionage started before espionage. You weren't telling the truth before they tapped into you, kind of a deal.
Well, yeah. So anyway, I quit, and I had to hand in my party document. That was interesting. So I had to go to the secretary of the Communist Party for the entire university.
It was like small red colored.
I forgot what it was, but it
yeah.
was a booklet.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just went to his office and handed that in, and he said, "Thanks for doing what you're going to do. We know."
Oh.
So he had an idea that I was going to disappear, but
Got it.
didn't know anything else.
Was it something like this? If you look on the, like that, with
I don't know what I. Oh,
to the right, do you see?
yeah. Now this
With
is
your name and like signatures probably from the secretary. And
yes.
With the Soviet stamp on it.
Yes, with
It's
a
like a
stamp.
mini passport or something.
Exactly.
Got it.
No, but it wasn't a replica of the Soviet.
Uh-huh.
It was the East German Communist Party.
I see. Okay.
So it looked. I don't think it was red, but
Got it.
it was very similar. And you even had a number on it. When you joined. Because the lower the number, the more prestigious, right?
You were one of the first ones.
No, I
No.
wasn't.
When I say if
trailer.
the number is lower, that means you're like one of the first
Oh
ones
yeah, right.
joining
right.
it. That's why. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so then I packed.
Here, this is the East German one. Can you look at it? It's still red with the handshake, Socialist Unity Party of Germany. German member book ID.
Exactly right. That's
Okay.
it. It's not so red as the other one, but yeah absolutely. That's the handshake. We had a.
And that's look, Marx, Lenin, and Engels.
Yep.
First page.
And we the handshake.
Yeah.
That symbolizes the communists and
Unity.
the socialists getting together.
Yeah.
And we also had a pin that had exactly that logo on it, and we proudly wore it.
Got it.
So I packed my belongings. I didn't have a lot, but the clothes I had, and I don't know what else I took with me. Personal maintenance stuff like toothbrush and stuff like that. It fit into a small suitcase and another bag. That was it. And I'm on my way into the unknown. I had nothing but an address at a place where I would meet my new boss, and a code name and a time. That was a clandestine meeting.
This is still in Germany.
Oh yeah, it's in Berlin. Yeah, the plan was originally to send me to West Germany and give me full training in East Berlin. So I show up and I meet this guy Nikolai, and he took me to his vehicle, and this is the first test that I got that I think at least 9 out of 10 candidates would have failed. So we talk a little bit, and then Nikolai said, "I already have a task for you." And I got all excited. What is it? Well, you got to find a place to live. You understand background. All of East Germany, there was a shortage of living spaces, and whatever was considered living space, apartments and outbuildings or whatever, was controlled by the government. Whether it was the central government, local government, the party controlled this. And people were on the waiting list. There were families of 5, 6, 7 people with children living in a one-room apartment. And he told me to find a place to live. That was impossible. It was a test.
And?
I passed.
You found a place.
I found a way to and I didn't know it was a test.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just like, I was wired at that point to, as a good German, here's your boss. He tells you to do something. Well, you try to do your best because you want to get an A, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't even like disappointed, or there was no negativity. Just I got to do it. I got to win. Okay. I was always very ambitious. So I figured out the only place where I could possibly get something is somewhere in the suburbs. So I took a train to the the city train to the last stop. That was about an hour ride on that train. And then I walked the streets and knocked on doors and asked if somebody knew a place where I could sleep.
Mm.
And eventually there was a fellow who said, yeah, but I think you're going to go to this lady. She's a couple of blocks that away. She may have something. And she did. She had an outbuilding that was not a garage. It was sort of a workshop made out of concrete. It was furnished really well, a bed and a table, not even a chair. So, and it had running cold water, and for the wintertime there was a wood-burning stove. That became my home for close to a year. And I never said a word to Nikolai. So I just, next time we met, I said, I found a place to live. Didn't say a word. I didn't complain. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I passed that test with flying colors. If I can't find something, I'm out.
Got it.
If I'm out, there's no way back to university.
Yeah. You have to do it. Yeah. It's no point of no return.
Exactly.
You already gave your so-called passport to the secretary.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
You don't have a job.
Back. Yeah.
You accepted a new one.
I would have gotten a factory job someplace or maybe a farm job.
And you're under probation, kind of.
Oh, yeah. A negative in my personnel file.
And at the time, you're saying that, but a lot of people don't know that people that lived under communist rule had a file, almost every single adult.
Yes, sir.
And when you're saying they put a negative, they literally put a negative in that little passport you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that passport goes along everywhere. And when you go to a government, entity, they will open it up and check, Jack, or at the time Albert, had a negative. Therefore,
now you're telling me something I'm not fully aware of. You think they actually put something that sort of a watermark?
No, not a watermark, but again, this is to my knowledge, this is what I was kind of told with my grandparents growing up, my dad growing up in Soviet Russia or Armenia, and they would have little markings where there would be a notification that there's a negative on you.
But the holder of that document wouldn't know that.
No, they would not know that. No.
Yeah. So that was one test, and there was another one, if I may talk about this, that if I had failed that one, I would have been out as well. So this was already several months in my training. They sent me to West Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
Just to take a look and see what it's, walk around, have a beer, go to department stores, take the train. They sent me with an East German passport that was stamped, that I was allowed to go to the West. And
at the time, they were still allowing people to go to West Germany?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some scientists occasionally would go to conferences.
So it was normal?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't a forged passport, and I had no Western clothes.
Mm.
So, and immediately I knew that the moment I show up there, they would recognize me as, this guy doesn't fit.
Got it.
But it's a little scary. Well, I was uncomfortable for about 5 minutes, and then so what the heck, I did what I had to do, came back. Okay, and then the next week, they sent me to do an elicitation, knock on a door of an apartment and find my way in and interact with the residents. I forgot what it was. It was an elderly couple, but they probably had a son or a daughter that was of interest. I forgot. And that was scary too, because I was still traveling with an East German passport. If the cops just detain me in some way or want to talk to me, I don't know how I would have responded. I would have been okay, I believe. But the reason I know that this was a test also, because I met an ex-classmate of mine accidentally at a restaurant. He was sitting there, and I was entering. And said, "Hey, how you doing, Henning?" And so he was devastated because he had worked. He was hired by the Stasi to go to West Germany as an illegal for the Stasi, and he had the same task. And he shared with me that when he came back from West Berlin, he told his bosses, "I can't do that." And he never worked in his profession as an engineer because he's still alive. I met him again with class reunion. He sort of like muddled through as an entrepreneur, building and selling model trains, stuff like that. So again, I had no idea how much danger I was in, which was like more dangerous than what I was facing as an illegal in the U.S. because it was just razor thin margin. Yeah, those bastards, right?
So after that, you come back.
After that, what?
After that test.
Yeah.
You passed that test.
Yeah.
You come back to East Germany.
Yeah.
What happened? What's the next test?
Well, nothing much. They were just making a check mark, right?
Yeah.
But what happened, what that got me to Moscow, that they found out sort of almost accidentally that I had a really, really good talent to acquire foreign languages. And foreign language was a requirement. I was told from day one, pick a foreign language, a Western language like French, Spanish, English. You need to learn one. Everybody does. And I just picked English. And I threw myself into full force into studying chemistry. I did the same thing with everything.
To English.
Right? And within a year, I had the full vocabulary of the English language, and even more than the average American does, because I got it from reading stuff, right? And I didn't know which words would be appropriate to use in a conversation, but I just knew him. And so one day we had a visitor from Moscow, and he met me with Nikolai in my apartment. And so we talked for a bunch of things, and then that was not a surprise question. He just wanted to know, how's your English going? So I pulled a book out of the bookshelf, a novel, and says, I can read this without a dictionary.
And they got surprised.
A week later, Nikolai came and gave me a tape recorder and told me, say something, whatever, speak 20 minutes about any topic that you can imagine. And I had acquired English also by working with tutors. I learned conversational English, so I could not just read, but also talk.
Got it.
And even in high school already, I was the one kid who didn't have a heavy German accent.
And is this American English or British English? Because they're two different.
That was the English that I was taught in high school, and the tutors that I had was British English at that time.
Got it.
So, and before you knew it, I was put on a plane to Moscow to be evaluated. I didn't know exactly what was coming, but when I get to Moscow, I meet a professor, English professor, obviously a KGB person, but she operated at Moscow University, Lomonosov in those days.
Yeah, Lomonosov State, Lomonosov University.
And a born American woman, a woman who I believe fell in love with a KGB agent, diplomat, and left the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty dumb because I met her many, many times. But let me just finish this part of the story. And we had a conversation, like maybe 45 minutes, the three of us, about anything, free flow. And then they withdrew and discussed the following question as to can he acquire, does he have the talent to speak the American brand of English with as little an accent as possible so he could be smuggled into the U.S. as a born American. And that's fundamentally impossible. It's a rarity that somebody can get rid of an accent once they have reached maturity, because all of this, the speech, what makes speech is it's formed and it's not flexible.
Uh-huh.
So, but you know, there are people who can imitate others.
Yes.
So I have this kind of a talent. I can do a very good Indian accent.
Got it. Okay.
And I love my Indian friends, by the way. So, and this is was interesting in that the Russian said, I don't know, you know, particularly I don't like his attitude. You know, he doesn't come across like a solid American, and that was shared with me. And the typical American optimism, I think I can work with him.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden, now I became a really valuable recruit, because as you probably know, that the majority of the illegals, a large majority of the illegals that went to the U.S. during the Cold War, and even Russians that go now to come here, were smuggled in through another country, primarily Brazil and Canada. And so it's happened again recently that a Russian, a GRU agent was caught who had established a Brazilian ID. In Brazil, even today, you can just get documentation by just signing a piece of paper and say, well, that's the truth. And then once you're a Brazilian citizen, you immigrate to the United States legally. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. There's a red flag in your personnel file. You know, I could have run for office. There's no red flag associated with me. You know, I was born in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it became clear that I had that talent, they were gonna at least give it a try. So I spent 2 years in Moscow, not to learn Russian, but to learn more English. And I worked with that American lady who was visibly miserable. She had not learned Russian. She lived in a foreign country, in a very nice apartment, but in isolation. And, you know, it was everything. The body language said it, tone of voice, poor thing. Yeah, that's how I wound up in Moscow, 2 years.
And while they're teaching you, or you're learning English and American behavior and American psychology, you're also learning tradecraft.
Okay, I got to correct you. American behavior, the lady tried to tell me some things, but whatever she knew was a little bit dated.
Got it.
And I also, for a while, was almost a year, I was able to interact with Morris and Lana Cohen. You know who they are.
Marsha.
Morris and Lana Cohen.
The two spies.
Yep.
Yeah, that defected to, not defected, excuse me, they got caught here in the U.S., right?
No, they got caught in the U.K.
Oh, in the U.K.
Okay,
and then the Russians brought them back.
They were members of the Rosenberg spy ring.
Yes, that's right.
They managed to get out, so otherwise they would have been executed too.
Yeah.
And they spent some time at first in Poland, and then lived and then were redeployed into the UK, and that's where they were caught. Spent 8 years in jail and were exchanged. So I was able to work with those, in particular Morris. You know, I heard a male voice, live male American voice, for the first time. So that helped a little bit. But there was no real psychological training or like training in how you behave as an American. There were a couple of things that Morris told me, well, you don't do that, but no. See, again, I told you the KGB did one thing very well, and that is pick the right people. But no, I'd never met a psychologist that worked for the KGB. I mean, unless there was somebody who.
So you're telling me there wasn't a person in the KGB who did psychological evaluations?
Nope. Not on me.
Not on you, but on other recruits?
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, okay.
But I wasn't aware of that because they didn't share any. I told you already. They didn't share anything with me unless it was absolutely necessary.
Tom, can you pull up Laura Cohen, the spies from the UK?
Lana,
and
there's a very good video about her on YouTube where they reenact how she fooled an officer when she smuggled stuff out of Los Alamos, and she had some paper in a box of tissues, and in those days when you left the area, you were checked.
Yeah,
and
especially from Los Alamos.
And she took that box, the tissue box, and handed the box to the officer
for him to hold.
And said, "Could you hold it, please?"
Yeah, I remember that story. Can you? I want to go into her wiki. Can you zoom in for a second?
Yeah, that's her.
That's her, right?
Yep.
American who spied for the Soviet Union. She's known for the role in smuggling atomic bomb diagrams from Los Alamos. There you go.
Yep.
She was a communist activist before marrying Morris Cohen. The couple became spies because of their communist beliefs. They were both arrested in Britain in 1961 and convicted of espionage for the Soviet Union in the following year. After serving part of their prison sentence, Lona Cohen and her husband were exchanged by the British in 1969,
right.
And they went back to Moscow.
So now pay attention to that stamp.
She even has a stamp.
Can you read?
Leotina Cohen, Герой Российской Федерации.
Разведчик. That's a spy.
Yeah, разведчица.
But the point is, this was issued
in 1998.
1998
by Boris Yeltsin.
By the Russian government.
Yeah.
So that tells you that they were honoring.
At the time, our very dear friend Vladimir Putin was prime minister.
Yeah.
In 98.
And they clearly, there's evidence that Russia considered itself an heir of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, it still
continuation.
Does until today, actually. I mean,
and so they gave Morris and Lana posthumously the Declaration of the Russian Republic. Разведчик.
Yeah, разведчик. Yeah. So so you go to Moscow, 2 years.
Yeah.
English training, tradecraft. What happens after that?
Well, and the first thing that happened was a test visit to Canada. They wanted me to get a flavor of what it's like to be in the U.S.
West. Got it.
In a safe space, so to speak.
Is this directly to Canada, or did you go to Canada through another country?
Through another country, always. I went through Turkey and then Switzerland.
What kind of a passport?
I think there were two of them. I don't remember.
Got it. But for sure,
it was a West German passport.
Okay. Okay.
On a West German cover.
Okay.
And the mistake that they made, they thought I could learn how Americans operate by going to Canada. Canadians will tell you, no way, we're not like Americans.
Yeah, they're totally.
And they're not.
Yeah, they're not. No, they're not.
So
they're more liberal.
Well, they're more liberal, and they speak a different brand of English.
Yeah. I mean, half the country is French. Half the country is British or English.
But this was the first time I spent a significant, other than West Berlin, that was like a half day. The first time I spent like 3 months in the West.
Got it.
And it was very interesting. And what it helped me is understand what the wealth that I would be exposed to once I come to the United States.
Were you tasked with anything? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was tasked to find a couple of spots for dead drops. I was tasked to write some reports. At the time, Quebec was in secession mode.
Uh-huh.
René Lévesque, a journalist, chain smoking, wanted to make Quebec an independent country.
Got it.
So they wanted to know what the people think about it, that kind of stuff. And
so you went to East Canada?
Yeah, Montreal.
Montreal, yeah.
And then I was supposed to go a little further west, all the way to where, and I did actually, where Canada is very close to the United States.
Yeah.
I forgot the names, but there's on the other side of Detroit.
The other side of Detroit.
The Canadian side of Detroit. There's a little town.
Tom, can you pull up the map? Go to Michigan. Go towards the left. There you go. Go up.
Starts with a W.
Go up, go up, go up.
Windsor.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way to Windsor. So just to actually interact with Americans, because in Montreal you would have to look for them, right?
Yeah.
But the biggest task that I had was acquire the birth certificate of one Henry Van Randel. Henry Van Randel, it was known to the KGB, and I don't know how they found that out, but had died at a young age, and he was born in California, and I was supposed to get his birth certificate, which was not an impossible task, because, and I don't even know what it's like nowadays, but in those days, the record-keeping agencies did not cross-check the death and the birth records. So, and by the way, that's how we were able to get the Jack Barsky birth certificate, because he wasn't known to be
Dead.
To have passed.
Yeah.
So this is what happened. So they gave me basic information about Van Randel, his parents, when he was born, where he was born, and told me to just and gave me the name and address of the record-keeping agency. It's like municipal. It's not national or even statewide, municipal. And just send a request to get a copy of your birth certificate as impersonating Van Randel.
Yeah.
And send the money, the fee that goes with that, and then just wait. And also, I was told not to stay in a big hotel, so the address, the return address, would look like a place.
Yeah, like a home or a residence.
Home,
yeah.
and also at a place where I could intercept a piece of mail that was addressed to Henry Van Randel. So what I did, I picked one of those small hotels with maybe 20 or so rooms, and I befriended the keepers.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like hanging out with them all the time, elderly couple. And at one point I told him that, my friend Henry, he's expecting
some mail.
This is why the KGB recruited me. I could make things up.
Yeah.
I like to make up stories. So yeah, and again, this wasn't told me how to do it. It just told me you need to find a way. And so Henry is expecting some mail, and he's traveling. So if something comes, I'll take it. And they trusted me. And one day, it came. But it took a long time. I figured maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was like after 4 weeks, I had the courage to call that office in the United States, and I told him, what's going on here?
Where's my mail?
Yeah, no, you got my money, and where's my birth certificate?
Yeah.
It was like I was feigning anger.
Yeah.
Again, it was the motivation was I couldn't fail. Again, I didn't, I had a task, and I needed to complete that task. Well, 2 weeks later, the mail came. So I see it there on a shelf when I was in the office. And I said, okay, that's for Henry. I picked it up. They gave it to me. And went to my room, and I was like, yes.
I did it.
I opened the envelope. I pulled his birth certificate out. Surprise, surprise. And in big red letters was stamped across, deceased.
Oh.
I knew I was in trouble immediately, because he is a dead person applying for his own birth certificate.
Uh-huh.
So I knew one thing: I had to get out of that apartment or that place. I really should have left the country, but again, I wanted to go back to Moscow with some success, and I thought it was a failure, even though it wasn't my fault at all.
Yeah.
So I actually continued the trip that it was planned all the way to Windsor. And at one point, I had the opportunity to talk to an American citizen who was sitting at a bar next to me. And I spoke with him as if I was a citizen of the United States, and I came from Detroit, because I said something like, their beer is so much better than ours, and that kind of stuff. And he had no problem with that.
Yeah.
So I went back to Moscow with the bad news, and then I said, and I got good news. I passed for an American. The guy didn't say anything like about, your accent, and something like, anyway. So that is when...
Did you have a handler in Canada or no?
No.
So no handler in Canada?
No.
Everything, how were you
I
communicating?
had no handler in the U.S. either.
How were you communicating?
That was a shortwave.
Shortwave radio.
And I wrote some letters in secret writing, not too many, but I did. I reported back on some things.
You use special ink?
Yeah, well, that's, really, how this worked, it was, there was no special ink. There was a contact paper that was impregnated with a trace of a chemical that, if you don't know what you're looking for, you wouldn't find it. It was that sensitive. And I saw once a developed piece when they told me, when I wrote this, but not to put a lot of pressure with my hand. And there was a lot of smudges on the developed things, even though I was really, really careful. So, yeah, no handler. I met nobody in the United States in person ever, no KGB agent. I met people in third countries primarily to exchange passports. That was it.
What was the dirtiest trick you pulled for the KGB?
That's a really good question, and I've never been asked that question. The dirtiest trick was telling them that I had HIV/AIDS, and I fooled them.
But that's kind of like against them. What did you do for them? Like, what was the dirtiest thing you had to do for them?
Nothing really dirty. What could be considered dirty is that I profiled some, particularly students who would be good targets for recruitment.
Got it.
And I know that they were going after one individual.
And this is in the U.S.?
It was in the U.S.
Okay.
They were going after one individual because he had moved. He was originally from Cyprus, but he was very leftist. So he was and he had become a citizen already. He was a target for recruitment. And they asked me to, he had moved, and they couldn't find him anymore. So they asked me to find out where he was. And I knew that I have no idea whether they recruited him or not, but that's pretty much as far as it went, as far as dirt.
Were you ever ordered to sabotage or blackmail or possibly hurt
Not a hint.
anybody?
Not a hint. I got I got the only physical training I got was self-defense, but not to fight with the FBI. It was in case I get attacked by a robber
Got it.
while operating in a park for a dead drop and so forth.
You weren't assigned any type of weaponry?
No, this hand never touched a weapon that could kill. The only weapon that I ever shot was a BB gun. Shooting
You
sparrows.
shot at pigeons.
Yeah, sparrows. No, there was not even a hint. My weapon was supposed to be this.
Your brain, your head.
However, well, again, this is speculation, but it's based on logic. When I told you about the interviews that the heads of the directorate S gave, and they both guys. One name I remember is Khrushchev. He actually at one point was actually the head of the KGB, and he was involved in that uprising against Gorbachev.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, they stated clearly that the most important value that we as illegals had for them was the fact that we were in the U.S., which means, in case of war, which means there would have been instructions. No idea what that meant.
Got it.
I'm not telling you that I was going to be asked to throw grenades into some place or something like that, but most likely it would have been a little more risky. Let's put it this way.
Were you aware if there were any other illegals?
Nope.
Did you? Because you're telling me you had no handlers in the U.S. at
Correct.
the time. So are you telling me you did not have any handlers, or other illegals, or in general there were no handlers in the U.S.?
There none. I was told it was a directive by Andropov himself that illegals would not meet a KGB agent in the country where they operate. Too risky.
Got it.
Think about it.
Because they were being followed all the time?
There you go.
Okay.
You think like an intelligence officer.
Like we were talking about this earlier, Oleg Gordievsky,
Yeah.
right? Or no, excuse me, not Polyakov.
Yeah.
Polyakov was
Yeah.
a GRU general who actually was at NATO, right?
Yeah.
As a diplomat.
Yeah, and he saved the world from a war.
That's right. He saved the world
know.
from a World War III, right?
You know your stuff.
Yeah.
Congratulations. A lot more than CBS 60 Minutes. No.
No, yeah, that's a really fascinating story. I mean, him giving up, because at the time, the Russians thought that the U.S. was trying to have a nuclear war. They're trying to attack the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And
They were paranoid.
and at the time, Reagan.
Yes, exactly. It was Reagan.
Reagan's rhetoric was also very aggressive.
And Reagan at one point quoted passages from Revelation in the Bible, and that's the end of the world.
Yeah, that they are the modern evil. I'm quoting Reagan, that they are the modern evil of today, and he's talking about the Soviets or the Russians.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, and then
The evil empire.
Yeah, and then what happened?
He was right.
Yeah, tell me about the story that you almost crossed paths with Ultra Games.
Yeah, so it was in 1986. So the Cold War was heating up, and it's on record that Andropov, who had become president, I don't know exactly when, but at one point was president of the Soviet Union, was very much concerned
For
that
a very short period of time, I think he was.
Yeah, he was not well. So he was concerned that if diplomatic relations would be broken up, and there was this war going on between the CIA and the KGB. They would constantly kick out diplomats, and then there would be retaliations and that, and it escalated to a point where it wasn't just one; it was a whole group of them. And Andropov was concerned that diplomatic relations would be broken up altogether. Gorbachev was not in play yet. Détente wasn't in play. And so at the time, the two most successful spies for the KGB in the U.S. were Aldrich Ames and Robert Hansen.
Yeah.
And you know that for the benefit of the people who are hearing this for the first time, they were both moles, American citizen. Hansen was FBI and Ames was CIA. And both of them were active planning defensive and offensive measures against the Soviet Union.
And mentioned that both of them had very, very high posts.
Exactly.
But one for the Robert Hansen retired. He was gonna he got arrested in 2001.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it for 20 years, 20 plus years. He spied.
And so here's the thing: if there were no more diplomats, there were in those days there were no NOCs, non-official cover, like people who operate under their own identity. They do something else. They are maybe scientists or business people or entertainers, but do some spying. There weren't any of those because there was just no interchange. You know, the borders were closed. You know, we had in Moscow once we had an American theater group, and they played in the Bolshoi.
Bolshoi Theater in Moscow.
Yeah, and they played Our Town. Guess who the majority of the people in the audience were? KGB. I was there too.
Yeah.
You know, you could get the tickets, but other than that, there was just very little. So it was the diplomats and the illegals. So if there are no more diplomats, who will clear the dead drop that Ames and Hansen used to
illegals.
Hand over paper, documents?
And that's why you were there.
There is we were the insurance policy. There's a FBI documentary that it can be found on the YouTube, Operation Ghost Stories, where they show that somebody actually deposits a whole pile of papers that was an illegal, actually.
They were saying that Aldrich Ames provided so much documentation that the KGB wasn't able to keep up with it. So they were telling him, hey, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Well, he had a treasure trove of information. So this is what happens. So I gave you a background. In 1986, I didn't know that background. Again, they didn't share any reasoning with me. Just like told me that one day, with 1986, there's a meeting with my Moscow handler, and some other fellow joined us. And he asked me if I would be willing to do something more dangerous than my life had been in the U.S. And what do you think I'm saying to that? No.
Yeah.
No.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So I was tasked with finding a spot for a dead drop in New Hampshire with a provision that this dead drop would be able to handle something much bigger than the usual containers, such as like soda cans, oil cans, pieces of wood, rock. So who do you think that was for?
Got it.
And I think they had plans for me to interact with Ames in case. They didn't pull the trigger. I sent the drop spot over to them, but they didn't have to pull the trigger. It makes perfect sense, because and even they may have considered it while the diplomats were still there, because now there were fewer and fewer of them, and they could be more easily followed. And you don't want to put Ames in danger.
You were originally stationed in New York?
Yeah.
Did you go to Washington or Virginia?
No.
Why New York? Was it because it's the largest city in the country?
Well, there were two possibilities: D.C. and New York City, because they had diplomats there in both places. New York was considered safer because it's so polyglot.
A lot of foreigners, a lot of
Yes, and it
tourists.
was easier for me to integrate. Nobody ever asked me. People would. There's some people who have very good ears who would ask me, you have a bit of an accent. It sounds European. They couldn't even figure out it was German, and and my answer was, luckily, on Barsky's birth certificate, his mother's maiden name was Schwartz, and so in our backstory we killed off my father, and I grew up bilingual. Says, I grew up bilingual, and in New York there are Puerto Ricans, at least in those days. I don't know if that's still the case. Born in New York, that had a heavier accent than I had.
I would argue maybe it even sounds Israeli to some extent.
Really?
The accent, yeah, because they have a thick
Okay.
accent as well when they speak English,
So
like the Germans.
yeah. So but we didn't use that, but obviously Barsky is a Jew.
Yes.
Was a Jew, and his father was a Orthodox Jew, Elisha Lee. That's Orthodox. But we killed him off, so I was with Mom.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's New York was the best place for me to assimilate, and whatever else. I have no idea. They were always hinting at a time period of about 10 years for me to eventually come back home. That was, I believe, somewhat realistic, because the longer you operate in another country, the more you normalize your existence, which I did, by the way, the more of a risk you are for defection.
When was the moment that came to your head that you said, you know what, I'm not going back?
Well, that was when they wanted me to go back.
But before that, there would never...
Before that, no.
You never thought about it?
No, what I did think about, well, you see, I had an anchor in Germany. The anchor was a son and a wife.
Yes.
And I loved this woman. So that was, for them to know that, I wouldn't possibly defect. I had thoughts once I was really well integrated in American life. I had my job as a computer programmer. I made good money, and I liked the job a lot. And there was a time when the spy stuff got in the way of the real job.
Oh, wow.
Like, for instance, I was supposed to do counter surveillance detection once a month. Forget it. I didn't have time for that. Because, or when I composed the letters in secret writing, and I had to also check for surveillance, that took care of my Saturday. That was a pain in the neck, and
you were American already. You didn't want to work on Saturday.
right. And also the transmissions, the shortwave transmissions were always on a Thursday at 8:15 in the evening, every Thursday, and I was never available to do something with on Thursday, and I complained about that pattern. I was smart enough to know that it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, they said there's nothing we can do about it, and I understand why. I think they rented some space in a Cuban transmission, at a Cuban transmitter. So anyway, this I had a really good job. I liked it. And all things equal, if there was a chance to bring my German wife, I would have stayed.
Got it.
So, but I was thinking, I still remember one day I was thinking, I miss these guys, the colleagues. They were like nice people. And a lot of them were immigrants. In the office were, a lot of technologists. And some people had like doctorates in something you couldn't take with you, okay? But it was easy for smart people to become computer programmers. And at one point, I think I was the only born American in that office. Everywhere there were Ukrainians, there was one Sicilian, Chinese people, a Cuban, and a couple of Russians, 3 Russians.
Wow.
So, and I was the only American.
Interesting. How much was the KGB paying you at the time when you
They
were spying?
paid me exactly as much as I got. That's German currency, as I got as an assistant professor. So I didn't join for the money. Now, what they paid me, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they paid me $500 in American money, which was put on account.
Uh-huh.
And they also took care of certain expenses, like medical expenses. And once I was able to buy a car, they paid for all the maintenance and half of the purchase price. All that money I never got. I never needed it because I made it.
Because you were making money.
Yeah. And
how much were you making it as a programmer?
It was $21,000 a year. From I just looked it up a while ago. $21,000 a year for the first year, and I got promoted very rapidly.
And this is in the 1980s you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was enough money to rent a decent apartment and live a good life, and actually go on a date and be able to afford it. And within 5 years, I was at the top of that pay scale. And I was doing really well.
Even though they knew it's more expensive to live here in the U.S. than in East Germany, they didn't up your salary? They didn't pay you more?
No.
Does the KGB still owe you money?
Yes. I tell you what happened. When I resigned, and I told them that they wanted me back on the other side of the Iron Curtain, because they were afraid that for some reason they were afraid that I was about to be arrested. Somebody may have whispered something into somebody else's ears.
Uh-huh.
They were very paranoid about this stuff. So when I told them in my last letter in secret writing that I can't come because I have HIV/AIDS, they believed it. And I asked in the letter I knew I had savings to give all those savings to my German wife. And according to my son, and I forgot the amount, she got an amount that was significantly less than what I knew I was owed. It could have been stolen by the guy who handled the cash, or they decided to just be cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they owe me about, in what in those times would have been $500,000. So now that's about $10 million, I guess.
$500,000?
Yeah, of course, it was all dollars.
Wow.
I told you they paid for my rent also. So there wasn't.
I asked that question as a joke, but you were serious. They owed you that much money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have returned to not just as a conquering hero, because I had received the second highest decoration of the Soviet Union in 1986, and that decoration was given to only spies that were extremely highly regarded.
Yeah.
Like the Cohens, they got it.
Yeah, yeah.
So and for that I got also $10,000. So I kept track of the savings.
So you're telling me if you went back to Moscow and you didn't I don't want to say defect, because you kind of,
if I didn't fall out of a window.
You would have your own stamp.
Well, no, because I left the service, if I had gone back. See, but with all that money, I would not be here today. I would not be in this country that I love. I would not have evolved as a human being the way I have, and I would most likely be extremely miserable if I'm still alive living in Russia.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I had no allegiance ever to
the Russians.
To the Russians. The allegiance was to the communist cause.
Yeah.
Not even so much for the Soviet Union, the cause.
The cause, yeah, not the country.
And East Germany, right? That was my homeland.
In your opinion, who is the best intelligence service today?
Mossad.
Mossad. Why?
Because first of all, they're very highly motivated. It's about survival. Okay, you can't cut corners. You have to be on. Whereas you can be in the CIA and screw up. So what?
Yeah.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, just like the Cubans, who I would mention as number two, they have nationals in the other countries that are actually Arabs.
Oh, wow.
Right? Same way the Cubans have people here. And there were quite a few.
You're telling me the Cubans have had.
I don't know if they could have illegals still here.
They had a fantastic intelligence agency?
Yeah.
The Cubans?
Yes. Yes.
Very interesting. Right now, who would you name the top 5 intelligence agency from, like, number 1? You said Mossad. Who's number 2?
That's a tough one. And I still would think it's Cuba.
Right now, Cuba?
Yeah.
You would rate Cuba over MI6, CIA?
I don't know.
No, I'm talking about right now in modern day and age.
Yeah, no, honestly, I can't rate the others. I'm not.
But for sure, number 1 is Mossad.
Yeah.
Got it.
No doubt.
Would you say CIA number 2, possibly?
I don't think so. I think the CIA has been politicized too much.
Where would you rank the Russians then?
The GRU is. If there's a top 10, they are somewhere in the top 10. The FSB sucks, and the SVR sucks even more.
Wow. What do you think led them to a downfall like that? Because KGB, like, literally used to be the best intelligence agency.
Well, lack of resources. Russia is not the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union spent an enormous amount of money on the intelligence services. Just like when I told you about these interviews, how much money they spent to recruit me, to find me, recruit me, train me, maintain me. It's easily several million rubles. And, you make this into an army. The Russians don't have that kind of money. And, there's also something about, I think the communist ideology is likely stronger than just serving the motherland, because it's so romantic. And when people signed up, we went all in. And one other thing, the Soviets hired people like me, foreign nationals, people from the Baltic republics, people that wouldn't have an accent.
Got it.
Right? They're all the KGB, the Russian intelligence agents. They're all Russians, and they can't get rid of their accent.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to sound like Russians. Yeah.
And I have a friend who, and I'm not going to name names here because I don't know what his status is, but he was FSB, was in the anti-money laundering unit, and he didn't take the bribe money. There was corruption inside of the FSB, and he was told by a friend, "You better leave because you're a target." All right. So the first time he met his boss, there was an envelope on the table, right? And so that also indicates to me that these organizations aren't very well managed. That corruption shouldn't be. I tell you what.
Especially in intelligence,
the KGB was ruthless. If you are a bad apple, you get killed.
Yeah. Firing squad.
Yeah. So and so the Russians aren't as ruthless. They allowed this corruption to appear. And what happened was when Yeltsin came to power, that's when it became like modus operandi.
Do you think the Russians still have illegals here today?
It's very doubtful. It's not impossible. The last set of illegals that were caught in 2010, they were rank amateurs. Why even bother with illegals that you can't train very well? And when you have a lot of knocks here, a lot of people, exchange students,
Yeah.
business people. I mean, you know, what's the Putina? Butina.
But yeah, the model.
Yeah, the model. I don't know but she managed to do a pretty good job. You know,
But she got arrested real quick.
yeah,
It didn't take her long.
but she had contacts within the NRA.
Yeah, well, because she was a woman, they
Yeah,
used sexpionage.
Sure.
You know, and the Russians
Yeah.
are the best honey trappers in the world because they have one of the most beautiful women.
And that is actually not a fairy tale. They actually had a place where they trained women.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Whereas a lot of stuff that people think about the KGB, that they had a village where we learned how to be Americans, that's fairy tales. But this is not. You're right.
Yeah.
They were like Red Sparrows. That movie
The
is
Red Sparrow,
actually
yeah. The Red Sparrow,
not a bad movie.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I don't know if you can confirm this or not, but I know the Russians in Moscow have special hotels for foreign dignitaries,
Yeah.
diplomats, or very, high
They did have those
position-
in my time, for sure.
businessmen. And when they go and check into those hotels, they have special rooms that the cameras,
Oh, yeah.
they're already installed, and they honey trap them, and
Yeah.
they blackmail them. Speaking of blackmail, you were saying Mossad, the best intelligence agency in the world as of now until today. Do you think Jeffrey Epstein was possibly an illegal that was planted here as an American by the Mossad to make America, to come to whatever it came to today with all these high, positioned politicians, with, presidents, with princes, with academics, and all these people? Do you think that's a likelihood?
All right. This is a situation that I would compare to me climbing up a tower that's in a pool, 10-meter tower, and blindfolded and jumping, hoping that there's water down in the
Really?
pool.
Okay, all right.
I honestly
Don't know.
cannot venture a guess here. Nothing is totally out of the question, but that rumor is outrageous.
Really?
However, having said that, the fact that the records have not been made public and then all of a sudden this is becoming a scandal, there may be something to it, maybe not of that magnitude, maybe not Israel, but some people definitely that are currently still in important positions have been compromised. Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking is because there was no list. They didn't release a list, even though Pam Bondi came out and said, the list is actually sitting on my desk right now. And then I have received a directive from the president to be transparent and release these documents.
And now
then the next day, the reason why I'm saying is because, and I agree with you that the Mossad is the best intelligence agency in the world and have been for the past at least few decades. I'm not even talking about, in recent years. I'm talking about for the past few decades. For a country that small, to be that powerful, you need to have a fantastic intelligence agency. And based on that, world policies are shaped, U.S. policy is shaped, and if there is a compromise on Trump, possibly, or on, people on the Epstein list, that's why, for instance, like the Iran war, do you think that played a role where, the Mossad had some sort of intelligence on them and said, you know what, you better attack, you better bomb those nuclear sites?
But on Trump, I think that theory has been debunked by somebody who prosecuted
Epstein?
Epstein.
The first time?
Yes, and he interviewed Trump, this prosecutor, in detail, and he said Trump was 100% cooperative and shared and volunteered information. and Trump kicked out Epstein. So let me support you from a different angle. When I'm asked as to whether Russian collusion could have ever happened, I said, no way. The United States is full of leakers. The United States intelligence agencies leak. Mm-hmm. There's always a leak. And if collaboration at that level requires more than one person, something would have leaked. Now, the Mossad don't leak.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I can see that your argument has values. I don't.
And you speaking of Mossad, there is ideology for them. Their value, the reason why they do espionage is ideology. Like you said, they're fighting because they're always in a fight.
Yeah,
everybody
survival.
Wants to survival. Everybody wants to attack them. Everybody wants a piece of them. The whole world, somewhat hates them, right? Their neighboring countries, and they have to constantly survive. I mean, if they can kill a Iranian general, and they know on which floor he lives, on what side of the bed he sleeps on, I mean, that just tells me how great they are. And why not, having Jeffrey Epstein, who was a sleeper cell here, and also having Ghislaine Maxwell, whose dad was possibly a Mossad agent, right? I mean, these speculations have been there, and to some extent, they're like coming into fruition. They're coming into reality.
That would arguably be the most brilliant espionage coup in history.
I mean, we're never going to find out about it. Maybe like Polyakov and Gordievsky after years pass, I don't know, another 5-6 decades, and then somebody else sits down and talks about this. But not now. I don't think it'll be out in our lifetime, possibly.
So what are we going to do about it? Nothing.
Yeah. No, it's just, speaking of espionage and you being a former KGB spy, I mean, just I know you would understand that this can be a reality. You know, this can be a real possible deal.
But I believe you're more of a historian in espionage matters than I am. Well, it's some knowledge to me nowadays has become useless. Well, that's why I'm saying, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are wrong with this country as well. I can't just like get all annoyed and upset about these things because I don't have influence. A little bit here and there.
No, I understand. I know what you're saying. It's just it's interesting, when you put logic together.
Oh yeah.
These types of thoughts come out.
And again, I would be a fool to try to argue against the argument you made. There's no strong counter argument.
Got it. Okay.
It sounds plausible.
Okay. I have an interesting question for you. Is there such a thing as morality when you are a spy?
No, there's justification that for doing immoral things.
Got it. But how do you feel as a human? Later on in your life, you found God.
Yeah.
And you found Christianity, you found Jesus Christ, and what, God and Christianity preaches morality, and the morals is like a set of rules that we live by. How do you adjust from a former, I don't want to say immoral person, but a person who lived through lies and deceit and come into completely something else, and now you gotta be a moral individual?
Now, you can make an argument, I don't want to make that argument, that God allowed for what's considered immoral in just wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we are doing as spies, we're hurting people deliberately, knowingly. Yes. That's immoral. That's condemnable. And I have come to peace with that because I gave it to God and I said, sorry, particularly the people that I heard were the people that were back home mostly, because I don't recall having heard any. I have no evidence that are, like for instance, the individual that may have been recruited, he may have done damage. I mean, he may sit in jail in the United States. I don't know. It was absolutely immoral behavior. Thou shalt not lie.
Yeah.
I was running around living a lie,
Mm-hmm.
even though within that bubble of lies, I was always honest.
I got it.
Okay.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie. Right?
No,
that's a quote from a movie called Scarface. I don't know if you've seen it or
but
not.
that's slightly different, because my task was to integrate as well as possible into American society, and that was best done not acting like somebody else, being myself, being my honest self. Now, the moment I said something about my past, and then I lied.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the one thing I know for sure, I never hurt anybody physically. I may have hurt somebody, like in some ways.
Emotionally.
Emotionally, for sure, I did. My mother, and because she passed away, not knowing what happened with me, and my German wife, who is still alive, and became very bitter, particularly when she found out that I was still alive.
Yeah.
After she was told that I was dead. I'm very sorry about that. But you can't turn the wheels of history backwards. And then there's a question that will come up a lot: would I do the person that I am today?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Actually, do you have any regrets? Would you change anything?
See what I very well. I can read minds.
You're a former spy, so.
So the answer is, I think there's no other answer that I can give. Knowing what I knew then, I would make the same decisions.
Got it.
Knowing that communism is a righteous cause. Again, if it wasn't for communism, just for the adventure, I wouldn't have done it. Simply because you don't do something that crazy and dangerous unless you know
Believe
that
in
you.
it.
Yes, you must believe in it. And by the way, you're familiar with the MICE acronym?
No.
Okay, so in the intelligence community, there's this acronym where they say, how can the motivation to recruit spies.
Oh, yeah, okay.
MICE the M stands for money.
Money, yeah.
The I is for ideology. The C is for coercion. The E is for ego. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Okay. And ideology is considered the strongest of them. There's one letter missing in that, and it doesn't fit into the pronounceable acronym. Love.
Love. Got it.
Particularly,
You're right.
Particularly the love for somebody you love, your child. They wouldn't know how to fit the
You're
L in
absolutely
there.
right, actually, yeah.
But the point is, ideology is considered by Americans who are born here, who know counterintelligence, who know how to recruit people. Its ideology is number one.
You're absolutely right, yeah. Ideology and love is something that happens in time while you are spying, while possibly you are in espionage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like the American lady you were talking about that lived in Russia who trained you, right?
Yes, that kind of love. But think about the following. And I think Vasily Mitrokhin, if I'm not mistaken, turned on the Soviet regime and eventually handed, who Mitrokhin was?
No.
The author of he was the archivist in the KGB archives, who had he had a son who was not doing well, and he could have gotten treatment in London. He was not allowed to move to London, and he started he got an incredible hatred for the Soviet system. And he was the head archivist, and he had access to all these papers, and he read this stuff, and he said, this is horrible. So, but out of the love for his son and hatred, he collected a lot of information that he eventually handed over to MI6. He is the reason that I'm talking to you today, because amongst that information was a little snippet that says there's a Jack Barsky who was living illegally in the northeast of the United States. Thank you, Vasily. He's not with us anymore, for betraying me. How did I get to Mitrokin? Oh, the emotion when it comes to people that you care about.
Yeah.
That is extremely strong, and that emotion made me quit the KGB, right? So, and
yeah, your wife here, your children here, the love aspect, the emotion aspect.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is the future of this country?
I'm concerned. I think if we keep on going the way we're going, we're looking at something like we have in Russia now, an oligarchy.
Is that what's happening with the current administration, in your opinion?
I don't think it has anything that... the current administration has not countered that trend. I don't know how they can, but that was ongoing under Obama. It was ongoing on the Bush, where we particularly as information technology, the technologists gained so much power. If you control the information, you control practically everything else. And we got these oligarchs operating now, and they have a phenomenal influence on everything that's going on. And so they think of themselves as, at least some of them think of themselves as benign. This is the elitism that I can't stand. Like, we're going to take care of you because you don't know what's good for you. Like Hillary Clinton was talking pretty openly about this stuff. And the current administration has not is trying to manage the situation, but how do you fix this, particularly in the context of AI? He who controls AI
will control the future of the world.
Yeah. And there's probably going to be some kind of a power struggle, because I don't know how the World Economic Forum will play into that. I mean, we have very, very strong oligarchs, so to speak, in the U.S. Now, they still play ball, all right? When Trump got elected, they all showed up. And
you're talking about like the Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerbergs and Elon Musks of the world. Got it.
They're still playing ball, but at one point they don't have to anymore.
And they're all technologists.
Yes, exactly.
Current oligarchy in America is technology.
100%.
What would you say to a spy today that may possibly watch this interview from your experience?
Don't start drinking.
Like Aldrich Ames.
And I did.
Wow.
I was never the proverbial drunk who can't take care of himself, but I was addicted to
alcohol. That's a great piece of advice, I would say. Not only to spies, but to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I started drinking when I came to the U.S. first. So I had, I had bought, my last flight was from Mexico City to Chicago when I came to the U.S., and I had in my luggage a bottle of Johnny Walker Red. And getting through customs and, security was extremely stressful. So when I got to the hotel, I drank half of that bottle to get to sleep.
Yeah.
I was functional the next morning. I had a huge headache. But at that point, I started, using the alcohol to calm me down.
Got it.
Nobody other than family ever knew that I had that problem because I never missed a day at work. I never drove drunk. But I had this thing that, you know, you don't want to be controlled by something or somebody else.
And that's alcohol.
Yeah.
Have you ever had Armenian brandy?
Yeah. In Moscow.
Very
it was
nice.
really cheap. It was my favorite.
And you've been to Armenia, right?
Yeah. This is not very long. It was very interesting. So, and it's like, it will make a nice episode in the miniseries. So I had a problem with one of my wisdom teeth. And this was about a month before my plant deployment. And it was the lower one on the bottom right. And these have, like, they're rooted.
Yeah.
The upper ones are easy to pull out, the lower ones. So Sergei, my handler, took me to a KGB clinic where I was tortured.
By the dentist?
They didn't have Novocaine. They used something like called benzocaine, which is not even half as powerful. It was extremely painful. It was a lengthy operation. I walked out of there with like this. And so obviously I couldn't be deployed until I was fully healthy. So they decided to send me to Armenia for 3-4 days. So it was sort of a KGB
retreat.
Retreat. Well, that retreat was more like a gym with cots, wide open. It wasn't luxury, but that's where the KGB people like hung out. And so the landing, it was obvious, it was Aeroflot going from Moscow to Yerevan. The landing was the worst landing I ever experienced because the tarmac was uneven.
Got it. I thought you were going to say the pilot was drunk.
No. And then what a local KGB agent in Armenian picked us up in one of those SEAL, S-I-L.
Oh, the vehicles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like those
Zeal,
luxury.
yeah.
And as we were driving through downtown Yerevan, there were checkpoints, quite a few. It was highly guarded downtown, and every time we slowed down, we were waved on. And I asked the guy, "What's going on here? How come we're being waved by?" He says, "Well, I'm driving the vehicle that normally drives the deputy prime minister."
Got it.
So that was fun to know that I was treated that well. By the way, I met this guy one time when I exchanged passports in Vienna, so like old acquaintances. Oh, that's you. Anyway, and then the nicest experience during my time in Moscow was when we went to visit a collective farm. They had a picnic in my honor, like with tables with food and drink, and they had music, and they were so friendly and nice. You know, there's some people I know that don't like Armenians. I don't know why.
Then they don't have 2 senses. That's why.
There you go. No, and one more thing, that they took me to the border, and that made me aware of what happened when the Turks came across that border and murdered, what, a couple of million people?
Yeah, 1.5 million Armenians back then.
Not in a war, they murdered civilians.
Civilians. It was under the pretext of war.
Yeah.
Jack, I'm very honored and happy to be the second Armenian to interview you after Patrick Bet David. And thank you again. This is a very interesting conversation. I don't know if Tom can possibly concur, and I sincerely appreciate you coming down here.